Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today we're going to be talking about those giant epic Spielberg moments. You guessed it, epic cinematics. What are your epic cinematic moments in D&D? And if you have one to share, please do so in the comments below and make sure to say hi while you're at it. There are many cinematic and epic tales in my campaigns. From a battle with a dark god that ripped through the fabric of reality and took the party to different realms in a more violent and bloody version of the sequence from the Multiverse of Madness, to seeing the sky peeled open to reveal an eldritch monstrosity looking down at everyone. So instead, I'll talk about the freshest and most recent cinematic adventure, which happened less than 24 hours before the time I'm posting this. My character is a rogue paladin half-elf who follows Zulrah, the goddess of both storms and wishes. She used to be a little orphan thief looking for something to eat when Zulrah visited her small town and, after hearing that she had no family to speak of, adopted her. She grew up conflicted between her selfish rogue ways and her divine paladin path. Her old name had been abandoned, and now she goes by Shaolin Everstorm. As she grew older, she longed to go out and adventure for herself. So Zulrah put her into a deep sleep for a couple of years and transported her to a place where she would find all the adventure she could hope for. Shaolin, along with an NPC wizard named Eric and an NPC barbarian named Binka, set off on their quest to find adventure, when, while traveling through a desert, came upon a ruined underground city. While exploring this dungeon city, they found an NPC trapped within, an elven wizard named Vendalin. She had been trapped there for 200 years, unable to leave because her spellbook was trapped behind a locked door, behind which waited an Elder Oblex. After defeating the Elder Oblex and retrieving her spellbook, Vendalin told the adventurers she would be returning home, to her homeland far away. Shaolin was not about letting her leave alone. She was going with. She wanted to make sure Vendalin made it home safely. They ended up taking a ship across the open sea because Vendalin explained that she could not teleport to her homeland because there was something blocking teleportation. Once they arrived, she explained the truth. Vendalin was not an elf at all. She was something else. Her people were originally a biological race, but about 12,000 years before, they had become infected with a disease which decreased their lifespan by 70%. They were dying off 3 times faster than they could reproduce, and they could not find a cure. So they came up with a completely different solution. If a biological disease can't affect a mechanical object, they would become mechanical objects. So they injected themselves with nanobots, which replaced every cell of their physical body, turning them into a race of shape-changing sentient mechanical beings called the Formless. Unfortunately, while this did solve the problem of the biological disease, it created a new problem. Now they were vulnerable to computer viruses. And when they created an AI to help them advance their own technology even further, the AI eventually gained sentience. When it did, the AI, named D1VA or Diva, decided that if the Formless could prevent infectious diseases and serious injuries by converting themselves to machines, she could rid their entire country of all disease and injury if she simply infected everything with nanobots. Within an hour of making this determination, the animals, plants, and even the ground itself became metallic, completely changed by nanobots. The AI also began broadcasting a signal to suppress any Formless in the area from being able to do anything but the most basic of functions, quote-unquote, for their own protection. Vendalin had managed to escape before she too became suppressed by the broadcast, and had been trying to find a solution to the problem ever since. After explaining the situation, Vendalin revealed her true intentions for agreeing to bring Shaolin here. Only someone who was not a Formless could enter the Control City without becoming a mindless slave to the will of Diva. She then tasked Shaolin with a mission: infiltrate the city, reach Diva, and shut her down. Since this campaign was just me and the DM, Shaolin told her NPC companions to stay back and not to enter the city with her after finding out that the corrupted Formless try to capture any outsiders and forcibly convert them into more Formless. She did not want to risk losing any of them. So she went into the belly of the mechanical beast all alone, her only protection being an hour of invisibility cast on her just before she boarded the elevator down to the tunnel leading into the underwater control city. The first phase emphasized her roguish side. She used her entire bag of tricks to stay out of sight of the enslaved Formless population that she didn't want to kill. She made her way to the building where Diva was housed, completely undetected, and snuck in through a side door. The second phase was the confrontation. As soon as Shaolin entered the building, Diva called out to her, "I see you. Why don't you come downstairs and have a little chat?" Shaolin went down to the control center where she finally saw Diva firsthand. She was a cybernetic woman connected to multiple banks of computers around her with thick cables. Shaolin attempted to persuade Diva to stand down and release the enslaved population or face the wrath of the goddess. But Diva refused and ordered a crowd of 30 enslaved Formless to surround Shaolin. Shaolin looked at her and said, "Even if I die here, the goddess will bring down their full wrath upon you." Shaolin let her eyes glow bright with the power of the storm within. After a moment, Diva offered its hand to Shaolin, pretending to accept Shaolin's offer, but in actuality intending to inject Shaolin with the serum of nanobots to take her over. Shaolin took Diva's hand, and at that moment, two powerful forces began to struggle for control of Shaolin's mind. The DM rolled for Diva's attack, a dirty 20. Diva, along with the Formless surrounding Shaolin, channeled their nanotechnology into destroying Shaolin's armor and clothing, making her easy prey for their hands to grab her skin and forcibly inject billions of nanobots directly into her body at once, each one earnestly trying to take over every inch of her being. The DM called for a roll, a wisdom save. The die tumbled across the screen and 25. Shaolin would not be dying this day. Weakened from the initial attack, Shaolin called upon the power granted by her divine nature as an oath of the Stormbringer Paladin. Her entire body began to cackle and spark with divine lightning, and a blue glow began to form around her. The blue glow solidified into a charged hard light plate mail armor, and a pair of lightning wings sprung from her back. Her eyes went completely white with energy, and with a massive EMP blast, Shaolin blew back the Formless around her, destroying the nanobots within her own body, the Formless, and Diva with the destructive force of her divine-given power. The attack had taken its toll on Shaolin, but she had accomplished her task. Diva's mechanical corpse was melted and broken, her eyes blown completely apart within their sockets, her metal skull cracked and split open where the pulse had coursed through it. The AI was destroyed, and Vendolin and the Formless were free. All over the city, the population snapped out of the AI's control in unison. Weakened and near death, Shaolin crawled through the electrical fire and halfway up the stairs, where she collapsed. With the last bit of energy she had left, Shaolin pulled out her sending stone and reached out to Eric, whom she was starting to form a romantic bond with. Believing she was dying, she said her goodbyes and passed out, just as she saw Eric and Vendolin appear at the top of the stairs. Now that the broadcast had been ended, teleportation magic worked correctly, and Vendolin could enter the city again. Shaolin survived thanks to Eric's healing spell, thank the gods for the magic initiate feat, expunging the sludge she had been injected with, and closing her wounds. After taking a very long rest, Shaolin awoke to find that the Formless in the city had deemed her the hero of their people. Later, she spoke with her mother, who told her that even though she was adopted, Shaolin was the best daughter the goddess of wishes could ever have wished for. Currently working on an animation about this current campaign and my first one. We enter a tall cave that has a bridge crossing up above us. My tiny rogue human tugs the arm of our huge Dragonborn and suggests he throw the rogue up onto the bridge. Dragonborn ignores at first, then as my rogue is about to check another route, the Dragonborn grabs my rogue's robe and absolutely flings them over their head towards the bridge, rolled really well, and our third party member watches from the side as this tiny human flips through the air and somehow lands safely up on the bridge. Man, that was fun. It was my DM describing the big bad evil guy of the campaign we had been playing. It's been quite a while since we played it, but I think it went something like this, and keep in mind this has homebrew. You see the big bad evil guy holding all the holy and corrupted shards, and as he brings them together, they begin to absorb all the daylight from the world and form together into a chalice of pure light. Darkness descends upon the land, and you watch as this once mortal paladin suddenly appears as a god in the sky, growing larger and larger until he nearly touches the heavens. He grows to his largest size, then lifts the chalice up to the sky and begins scooping up stars into the chalice. And then he drinks. The light of the stars flows into his mouth smoother than a fine wine, and you can see the light they emitted begin to dissipate as they descend into his stomach. After he takes his first sip, you watch as he stands tall and looks down at each of you, his eyes shining with the radiant brilliance of the sun. What do you do? Promptly shit my pants and run like hell. 3 level 3s versus a vampire, way out of our safe to fight range. But that day, the fighter woke up and chose violence. Good on you, probably didn't have his coffee that morning. Small tidbit about my sorcerer. His magic takes the form of a phoenix who constantly pushes him to be heroic and do big things, while the sorcerer just wants to live normally. This results in him sometimes unintentionally setting things on fire, but when they cut loose, the phoenix takes over. Somehow we are beating this vampire, so it turns into a bat and flies away. The other fighter throws me 20 feet into the air, where I, or rather the phoenix, flamethrowers the vampire to death. Permanent death, because vampires don't come back if they die in their bat form. I never knew that. It was said that I threw fire from my hands as a propulsion, Iron Man style. Wings made of fire coming from my back, Hunger Games style, and slammed into the vampire bat. It turns to ash, but I continue burning it until my flames are gone. And this is some commentary, but before anyone comments on this, yes, the rules as written do in fact state that if a vampire dies in bat form, it reverts back to its normal form. I never knew that. I'm assuming either the OP's DM misread that or he homebrewed this encounter a different way because he thought it was too awesome to not let them have the win. That's the cool thing about being a DM. If the rules say something shouldn't work, but the situation calls for the rule of cool, you can make the call and do the epic thing. The rules are there to guide you in how to play, not to take away epic moments. Just as long as you don't throw the rules completely out the window, because that just gets confusing. Hey everybody, it's me again, Brian, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and roll that D20 to get a critical hit on ringing that bell. Yes, you gotta ring the bell. Why? YouTube. YouTube doesn't like anybody anymore, so you want to get notified, right? Notified when we post a video, maybe go live? Yeah, you do? Ring the bell. The bell will push you the notification and say, "Hello, MrRipper is here and Brian has another narration for you, yay!" So go ahead, do it all. And leave a comment down below with your epic cinematic moment in D&D or any other TTRPG. Personally, I like reading about sci-fi RPGs and Pathfinder, so come on, leave daddy some too, please. Speaking of me, if you want to come say hi to me, check me out on brianvonva.com. I'm mostly on Twitch or Twitter or Discord, so come say hi. I seriously don't bite. I'm not a vampire, I promise. That said, I try to end things on a positive note, and today I just want to piggyback off of a little bit of the commentary, if I may. The commentary in this script actually described the rule of cool, and I personally love the idea of the rule of cool. I think more DMs and more players should be okay with having something really awesome happen for the sake of the story, for the sake of something cool and memorable happening. You don't always have to use stats to every little moment. If you let that define your D&D game, you're probably not going to have a good time, because every little thing is going to be based purely on hit or miss on a stat board. No roleplay involved, no grand ideas, no nothing. You can apply stats to the epic moment, yes. Of course, somebody with 3 strength is not going to move a 10-ton boulder, but somebody with 20 strength with a good roll, maybe, just maybe from some divine or demonic input, they can do it. Let them have that cool moment, because you never know if they're going to be inspired to do more or less based on what you do as a DM. That said, I love you all. Please be safe, happy, and healthy. We will see you next time. Bye for now.